everybody. Welcome back to another Facebook Live with Michael and I. We're excited to talk to you today about goal setting, a super important conversation to be had for anyone pursuing wellness, fitness, a new health. Yeah, totally. One thing we wanted to get into today is that so often when we set goals, it's not to say that the goal setting process is misguided entirely. Because you have to set goals, you have to have ambitions, but you also have steps you take towards those ambitions. And so what Michael and I, before we started rolling, were identifying the difference between as an outcome-based goal and process-based goals.
Yep. An example of an outcome-based goal where we're just focusing on like the end product, if that's what we're just illustrated in a different way, is like, I want 50 pounds in a back squat. I want to lose X amount of weight. Pick a number, any number. I mean, that's the end game, right? And now the question becomes, the process is how do we decipher? How do we take the top of the tree and start to put all the branches in the veins that lead up to allowing us to reach that goal? What are those?
Well, yeah, because you could put like I want to drop X amount of pounds. And I write it on a Post-it note and I put it on my bathroom vanity.
That's motivating.
Right. And I see it every single morning and I've written it out into the universe and it may come, but
I might have put it on Facebook and gotten all my thumbs up and likes on my support from my friends.
But where does that leave you for first steps?
And then a week it's the same Post-it note and nothing is, and then a month and now all of a sudden the Post-it note falls off the fridge.
And it's not to say that setting that goal was invalid, because I think it's good to do that, but then you need to start to instantly, when you set that goal, think about what's a behavior, what's a process goal, what's a first step.
How would you even decide? Well, let's. I know how we would from the practitioner.
Go ahead,
but if you were the person, the consumer, the client, the person who's struggling, how do you even know? Like, take weight loss, man. I mean, gosh, that's such a tricky subject. How do you, or even add 50 pounds to a back squat, how do you even know if that's the number?
Wow, that's a good point too. I mean, I think there's two things, and we'll answer them, and then I'll take the first one, and maybe I'll set it up for you to take the second one. So I think the first thing you have to do is look at the behaviors that, or the lack of behaviors that are leading to or not leading to you already having had that goal accomplished. So if we take a look at the weight loss, like Michael mentioned, a tree. If the star at the top of the tree is the ultimate, the penultimate, the outcome based goal, where at the very root, right, are things going on that are currently in the way of that goal already being manifest? So maybe you need to open up the envelope of stress management and life. Maybe you need to open up the envelope of nutrition and see behaviors there. Maybe there's a training element and you need to open up that kind of that root or that trunk, that branch, and look at the behaviors there. And you need to take a window of time and chip away at one behavior in one envelope versus saying, I'm going to do some massive reset or onslaught or total upside down shift. I think that's step number one. Step number two, I think, would be to bring in an outside party. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, and I guess, truth be told and transparency being very, that's what we like about this opportunity is we get to sort of just put our heart on our sleeves. As a facility, any goal that I want to help somebody with, that we want to help people with, is a goal that we want to stick and be maintained. So a person coming to me with a weight loss one is a great one, because that's a very common subject that we take on. Taylor's point was spot on. Like, our society is built around quick fixes. Give me a shake to answer that. I'm going to starve myself to, I got my wedding's coming up and whatever, and I need to...
What can I order on Amazon Prime to get it tomorrow?
And I'm not going to say that sort of, what's the right word? I mean, that desperation to, my gosh, man, I feel for those people and I feel for that person. But it's not that I don't want to help that person, but I don't want to help that person scramble to a 30-day nosedive so that we all know what's going to happen on day 31. So I think when you started talking about the top, the star on the tree, and then you already unraveled lifestyle. We're talking about the nutrition or the weight loss goal. you unraveled lifestyle, fitness, and nutrition, and within those multiple levels. Like, that sounds complicated. That sounds like it's a journey. That sounds like, and you know what? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it should be. Because I think we've had this conversation. My guess is the goal that you're trying to reach, especially if you're working away from something, let's say that body composition has gotten to a place that you're not comfortable with, and you're reminiscing around a day past, like, when do I remember? You likely took some time to get to the point where you are now. So let's just understand that it's okay to take some appropriate time to undo what you've done or haven't done to get yourself to now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's long-term goal. That's long-term management, and that's long-term success, and that's what we really want to help people with.
And when it comes to your outlook on some of those, what seems like now, oh, geez, I set one goal, and now all of a sudden I have all these process goals, which just looks like a massive to-do list. I heard a really good analogy the other day that equated tackling those process goals. It kind of sparked this whole conversation today, to be frank. It was like when you're a teenager or a young adolescent and you're first learning to drive a car. You get in behind the wheel and there's so much things to think about. There's like, I gotta buckle up. Oh yeah, like the gas is here, the brake is here. Let alone I'm driving a manual.
I was gonna say a stick shift.
And then I got I got to look over the shoulder, but I also got a signal, but I also got to use my mirrors, and then let alone the rules of the road. At 15 or 16, that was almost paralyzing. But now, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, wherever you're at, you can almost drive to work and not remember how you got there.
Right.
Like, the brain has the ability to just layer in that nuance and build consistent success. It's almost like you accrue, that quality, just snowball effect, quite frankly.
Right.
And so when I talk about those process goals, that's why you pick one, maybe two, and chip away at it 7 days. Almost try and build a habit, and then layer in a new element, fold in the next step, and maybe someone who is helping you through that, a third party, a spouse who's sharing in this journey with you, a coach who's helping program the realities, is helping introduce you to those next steps. And it all it vets itself out as these process goals leading towards this outcome.
Well, let's touch on that driving example, because I think that also illustrates that. And I'll use this with clients talking about sort of a new normal. Let's just understand that if your behaviors are maybe less than ideal, but you've done them long enough, that's your normal. So if we are trying to change our behavior to act upon ourselves to go towards some goal, that requires effort. That's driving the car, thinking about all those things, where now the behaviors have sort of solidified and homogenized all those elements to just flow into, I just drive my car.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was like, okay, hands at 12 and 2, like pieces.
Oh yeah.
And active pieces. And another way to frame this too is, and I like, let's switch or pivot to the back squat element.
Yeah.
I think it's a little more linear when we think about that. With nutrition, it's either our experience, is most people want to just train themselves out of habits they don't want to talk about and lifestyle issues they don't want to deal with.
Right.
Like, I don't want to talk. My food is fine. I don't want to talk about sleep. I'm great. I just want to come and train, and that'll fix everything. Okay, that's not a holistic view of how we take it. Or, so if we parallel that over into squatting, and it's like, I want to put 50 pounds on my back squat. Well, what if that person's never touched a barbell before, and they don't even know what back squat is?
Right.
Like, that's no different than somebody saying, I want to lose 50 pounds. And I just want to get it through either training, or I just want to just give me a meal plan. I just want to. It's like, well, wait a minute, we haven't unraveled we don't what.
There's so many idiosyncrasies.
So
yeah.
With a movement based goal, it's so much more linear to some degree to think like, okay, well, have they squatted before? Do they have the mechanics to squat? Have they even performed the movement before? What's the weight that they are at now? How many years have they potentially trained on that movement? What sort of history? It's right. So then we can get into the supporting structures of lifestyle and nutrition, which always come into any goal when it comes to this.
Yeah.
But I think there it's a little bit more linear, because it's like, well, if you have a back squat goal and you haven't ever even back squatted,
we're going to first.
Don't we need to first know, right? Building blocks.
Right.
pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. I mean, even if I'd like to ruminate on the training piece a little bit here, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
I think too, one thing, people who want to add, and it could be squat for you, it could be shaving off time on a marathon, it could be some recreational endeavor you and your team want to win this kind of cup or challenge. I think people fail to realize that there's more than just the effort portion of the work, just like a weight loss or a body compositional goal has training, lifestyle, nutrition, kind of holistic perspective. Any type of performance goal has the training element, but also has the recovery element.
Yeah.
Like you can't just say, well, it's going to make probably I'm going to get the back squat goal the fastest by just training more. Well, you can't train so much so that you don't ever recover from that training. And then to say all you do is squatting,
right?
To get
right,
where did the rest of your physical qualities go? And so I think that those processes might be more linear, but there's just as much idiosyncrasies and decisions to be made about, like, okay, so if I am going to increase the frequency or the volume of my squatting, I also need to make sure that I'm leaving room to recover from that. Maybe I'm getting in an active recovery session. Maybe I'm making sure I'm sleeping well. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of kind of self tissue work and mobilization type stuff. Right. Maybe I'm making sure that I'm doing my diligence with some of my I'm augmenting that increased workload with better and proper nutrition. And all of that is wrapped up into this, I want to squat more, just as it's wrapped up into, I want to change the way I look in the mirror.
And I'd say if we're starting to come back to more like tangible answers, which I think is what, I mean, we go into great, my gosh, I hope you appreciate our tangents.
Yeah.
But
we live at 010 rabbit hole lane.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just
and we don't mean to just make it complicated and make it, but it is complicated. It is murky. It depends world, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And I'm not ashamed to say that if that seems frustrating, like, that's okay, but it's just the hard, fast truth. And if somebody's selling or saying otherwise, I would question. But with that, what I think I would say is we're coming from the perspective of a third party, a coach, sort of supporting an individual. And this is where I think we provide a lot of value, because we have enough experience through all of our history of working with clients in a variety of environments to be able to be that sounding block, to be able to be sort of that little bit less biased, more critical thinking, question, mirror. I mean, we talk about that all the time. So often in a frustrating answer, like, client asks question A, all we do is just shave the mirror back. Like, so what do you think about that? Like,
right.
Well, does that seem to, okay, and that's what we're talking about. If we're ultimately establishing a goal, I want to do X. Is it a reasonable goal? Is it an attainable goal? What were the three? You broke down into those three great. So
if you're going to set, and maybe this is what we'll leave you with here today, is kind of a good takeaway. We want you to set outcome-based goals, but we also want you to identify the processes that are going to lead to each of those outcome-based goals. And I think the three types of outcome-based goals you should set, the first of which should be a grasp goal. You can set an outcome-based goal that has processes underneath it, but you could obtain it almost with not that much effort. There's a part of your mind that's like, that's too easy, but not so easy that you haven't already done it, right?
And then I'm going to pause you by thinking, let's use the back squat example. Let's take a person who can squat relatively well, has a history with it, but let's say we're working on a couple of pieces of mechanics of the movement, whatever that might be. Like, that grasp goal is we need to solidify that. So that's not a thoughtful process, that's an integrated process. So then we can move on.
Yeah, your grasp goal is I want to technique.
Yeah. Full foot. Let's make sure we get full foot on all reps, or we're following the tempo to the letter, or whatever it might be. But it's right there with just a little bit of a push. Right, got it.
Yeah. And so the next after a grasp goal, something that's just kind of right in front of your face, is to go for what would be like a reach goal, something at arm's length. You don't quite have to lay out for it yet, but it's further. Maybe this is on the back squat example, if you're trying to put on 50 pounds, maybe this is the first 20, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can, the reach goal should honestly be a place where you get to reassess what the next steps are, right?
Or is the path you're on even the appropriate path?
Absolutely.
I'm trying X, Y, and Z steps. Nothing's happening. Ooh, we got to reassess.
Yeah.
I'm trying X, Y, and Z things. Hey, 5 more pounds, 7
Yeah.
more pounds, 10 more pounds. Or from a nutrition side of things, it might be more like, hey, I have been consistently getting good sleep, and that's the plan that I've worked on with my coach, and I have done that for a month now. I have decided that I'm going to go away from my like muffin and coffee breakfast, and we're going to add a little more protein consistently, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to maybe go away from the coffee macchiato, and I'm going to grab a green tea. And I've done that relatively consistently for a month. I mean, that
Right.
shows sort of a dedication and an attainability and some consistency,
Yeah.
which can get us potentially now into...
Well, the ultimate, we would call that an ultimate goal. So you'd have a reach goal, or excuse me, a grasp goal, a reach goal, and then really the one that you're trying to lay out for. I mean, honestly, if I think back in my own, I mean, when you set an ultimate goal, there should be a corner of your mind that's like, I might not get that, or that might take some time.
Yep.
It's almost as if you would say like grasp is weekly, reach is framed in terms of months,
Yep.
and then an ultimate goal is like years.
Yeah.
And years with an S. And I think that's a good framework, because you may innocently be setting outcome-based goals for yourself that are ultimate goals, really beyond your reach where things are at right now, and just feel totally paralyzed.
And have an expectation of it being grasp related or grasp resolutions.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Totally.
challenge.
Totally. And so really set goals. Please do. I think they're important, like we led off with. But hopefully based off our conversation today, you can set a grasp goal and maybe start to think about what would be a reach goal, and what are some of those process-based goals, some of those behavior changes that need to happen en route to those goals becoming accomplished.
Yep.
We hope this conversation's been enriching to you. We've been popping these off, and we've been having a lot of fun with them. I hope the content has been equally fun for you. If you've got suggestions for a future topic, don't hesitate to reach out to us live at MSP Fitness. Does this mean I have to put it down there? Live at mspfitness.com. You can also hit the comment section below this video. Maybe stop in and tell us what some of your goals are. And if any particular nugget of wisdom has been of value to you, we'd love to hear about it. What's on tap next time? You tell us.
Yeah. Live at mspfitness.com, and we'll take your questions on next time.
Yeah. We'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.
Take care.